Once upon a time, in a modest village nestled between rolling hills and verdant fields, there lived a poor man and his beautiful wife. Despite their meager means, they led a life full of joy and contentment. Their home was humble, consisting of a small thatched roof hut, but their love for each other was as grand as the mountains that surrounded them. They were known throughout their village for their unwavering affection and the rare harmony that characterized their relationship. They never quarreled or disagreed, finding solace in each other's company and cherishing the simple pleasures of life. The husband was a diligent farmer, working tirelessly in the fields from dawn until dusk. His hands were calloused from labor, but his heart was tender and devoted. His wife, equally devoted, maintained their home with care and love, ensuring that their small abode was always clean and welcoming. Despite the modesty of their possessions, their happiness was palpable, and they were the envy of many in the village. However, their peaceful existence was soon threatened by a wealthy and handsome neighbor who lived in a grand estate on the outskirts of the village. The rich man was well known for his opulence and charm, and his arrival at the poor man's humble home was often the subject of gossip. His wealth was evident in the finely embroidered garments he wore and the elaborate carriages that transported him from place to place. The poor man's wife, with her striking beauty and gentle demeanor, caught the rich man's eye, and he became infatuated with her. Every day as the poor man labored in the fields, the rich man took it upon himself to visit the poor man's home. He would stroll up the path with an air of confidence, his eyes glinting with a mixture of admiration and desire. Each visit, he would lavish praise on the poor man's wife, his words laced with a subtle but persistent seduction. "You are such a beautiful woman," he would say, "but your clothes are old and worn. Surely your husband must not love you if he hasn't bought you new, stylish garments. If he truly cared for you, he would adorn you in the finest attire. Why don't you leave him and marry me? I will provide you with beautiful clothes, the best in all the land. You will become the most beautiful woman in Ethiopia." At first, the woman dismissed the rich man's advances with a polite but firm refusal. She loved her husband deeply and had no interest in abandoning him for the superficial allure of wealth. But the rich man's persistent visits and flattery began to wear down her resolve. Each day he would reappear with a new display of wealth or a fresh compliment, and slowly the seeds of doubt were sown in her mind. As the days turned into weeks, the woman found herself questioning why her husband had not purchased her new clothes. She began to wonder if her husband truly loved her as much as she had always believed. The rich man's words echoed in her mind, and she started to feel dissatisfied with the simplicity of her life. This growing discontent led her to confront her husband one evening after he returned from a long day in the fields. "Look at me," she said with a note of frustration in her voice. "My clothes are old and unattractive. I want new ones. Why haven't you bought me a new dress?" Her husband, always patient and kind, smiled gently. "You don't need new clothes," he replied. "To me, you are the most beautiful woman in the world." But the woman's dissatisfaction grew. "If you truly love me," she insisted, you would buy me a new dress." Her husband, though deeply troubled by her unhappiness, was determined to make her happy despite his limited means. He had been saving money to purchase a new plough, essential for his work, but he decided that his wife's happiness was more important. The following day he visited the market with a heavy heart, using the money he had saved for the plough to buy a new dress for his wife. He returned home with the garment, a beautiful and vibrant dress that sparkled with the colours of the sun. His wife was overjoyed and immediately donned the dress. "Thank you, my dear husband," she said, her eyes shining with gratitude. "Now I know you truly love me." However, the rich man's schemes were far from over. When he next visited, he noticed the new dress and, with a dismissive wave, said, "That's nice, but a good husband doesn't just give clothes. He gives gold. Where are your gold necklaces and rings? Why hasn't your husband given you those?" He then displayed a box filled with exquisite gold jewelry, its contents glistening enticingly. "Divorce your husband and marry me," he proposed. "I will give you all this jewelry." Though the woman initially resisted, the rich man's daily visits and persistent displays of wealth began to sway her opinion. One day she refused to cook or prepare dinner for her husband, who returned home after a grueling day in the fields, tired and hungry. "There's no dinner for you tonight," she declared. "You don't love me. If you did, you would give me gold jewelry like the rich man does." Her husband was deeply hurt by her words. "What are you saying?" he asked, bewildered. "I love you more than anything. I bought you new clothes and gold jewelry. How can you say I don't love you?" But the woman was firm in her demand. "If you loved me, you would give me gold jewelry. I want what the rich man offers." Faced with his wife's growing dissatisfaction and his own limited resources, the poor man decided to seek help from his brother. He hoped that by borrowing money from him, he could buy the gold jewelry his wife desired. The next day he visited his brother, explaining his situation and offering to work in his fields as repayment. His brother agreed, but warned him of the tough work ahead. "There are many stones in my field," he said. "You must move them all." Determined to please his wife, the poor man accepted the challenge and borrowed the money. He purchased the gold jewelry and returned home to present it to his wife. Her eyes sparkled as she adorned herself with the new necklace and rings. "Look at me," she said with a beaming smile. "Am I not beautiful? Now I know you love me." The next day, her husband left early to start his arduous work in his brother's field. Meanwhile, his wife was excited to prepare a special dinner for him, filled with gratitude for the gifts he had given her. She wanted to show her appreciation for his sacrifices. Yet the rich man's relentless pursuit continued. Each day he visited the woman, asking if her husband had performed any miracles for her. "Can your husband make miracles?" he would ask. "Miracles?" the woman would reply. "No, of course he can't make miracles. Only God can perform miracles. Men cannot." The rich man, unfazed, claimed, "I can perform miracles because I love you. If you love me, I will perform miracles for you. But first, you must promise to leave your husband and come with me." The woman, though intrigued, remained skeptical. "Show me a miracle now," she demanded. The rich man replied, "You must promise to love me first. Only then will I perform miracles for you." The woman was silent, and the rich man left, leaving her with lingering doubts. That night, the poor man returned home, exhausted and hungry. His wife served him dinner, and he ate gratefully, savoring the food she had prepared. As he ate, the woman's thoughts were troubled by the rich man's claims. She began to regret her dissatisfaction and realized how foolish the rich man's promises seemed compared to her husband's genuine love and hard work. Days passed, and the rich man's persistence did not wane. He continued to visit daily, asking if her husband had performed any miracles. Eventually, the woman's doubts resurfaced. One evening, she expressed her sadness to her husband. "You don't love me," she said. "If you did, you would perform miracles for me." Her husband was taken aback. "Miracles? I cannot perform miracles. Why would you want such a thing?" he asked, bewildered. "Our neighbor told me that love should produce miracles," she replied. The poor man realized that the rich man's deceit was causing trouble in his marriage and decided to take action. Determined to protect his wife and end the rich man's manipulative schemes, the poor man prayed fervently for divine intervention. "Oh, Lord God," he prayed, "please help me to make a miracle. I love my wife and want to keep her. Don't let this rich man take her away from me." As he worked in his brother's field, moving stones and toiling under the hot sun, he encountered a mysterious figure. The man introduced himself as a wizard and offered the poor man 2 magical sticks. "These sticks can create miracles," the wizard explained. "One stick turns a person into a donkey, and the other returns them to their human form." The poor man was overjoyed and thanked the wizard profusely. "This is exactly what I need," he said. "Now I can protect my wife and punish the rich man." He hurried home with the sticks, eager to use them. When he arrived, he found his wife waiting anxiously. "Look, dear wife," he said, "I am going to make a miracle." With that, he used the first stick to transform her into a donkey. She brayed helplessly, her human voice silenced. He then used the second stick to restore her to her human form. She was astonished and thrilled by the miracle. The poor man then explained his plan. "I will use these sticks to deal with the rich man who has been causing us so much trouble." The next day, as the rich man arrived at the woman's house, he was met with the first stick. In an instant, he transformed into a donkey. The woman then took the donkey to the fields where her husband was working. When the poor man saw the donkey, he realized it was his rival. He put the donkey to work, giving it heavy loads to carry. The donkey, now reduced to a beast of burden, toiled in the fields, transporting stones and supplies. For many years the donkey worked hard, helping the poor man with his tasks. The poor man's fortunes improved, and he became more prosperous with the help of his unwilling helper. One day, as the donkey grew old and weary, the poor man felt a pang of sympathy. He decided it was time to restore the rich man to his former self. He took out the second stick and used it on the donkey, turning it back into the rich man. However, the transformation revealed an old and haggard figure, a stark contrast to the youthful man who had once courted his wife. The rich man, now frail and exhausted, stood before the poor man, his pride and arrogance gone. "You tried to take my wife from me," the poor man said firmly. "That was wrong. Go home now and never return. Do not look at other men's wives again." The rich man, defeated and humbled, left the village and never returned. The poor man and his wife were able to live out their days in peace and happiness, their love for each other strengthened by the trials they had faced. They continued to cherish each other and find joy in their simple life, content in the knowledge that true love and devotion were far more valuable than wealth and superficial allure. And so, the poor man and his wife lived happily ever after. Their story a testament to the enduring power of genuine love and the folly of deceitful temptations.